at 3:30, so we'll kick off. Just a wee reminder that we've got a couple of workshops at the conclusion of this the formal meeting. So have we got any apologies? Conflicts of interest? Confirmation of minutes, so you're prepared to move. Councillor Cairns, seconded. Councillor Redmond, put it. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carry. Matters arising, any issues from the minutes? Appear to be none. Deputations, welcome Deirdre.
Am I switched on?
Yeah, if you just push the button, the red light will come on and you're away.
Okay, so good.
Yep.
And this is all set up to go, I'm assuming?
If it doesn't, you'll just have to give someone up here a wink and they'll change it for you.
Okay, good. Kia ora koutou. Ko Dipi Ranta Koenua. I'm the Waimakariri at Community Wellbeing North Canterbury Trust. Thank you very much for the opportunity to update you today on the work that Community Wellbeing has been doing over the last 12 months. I'd just like to introduce also Brian Davey, who many of you may know already. Brian is on our board, was previously board chair, and we're lucky enough to retain him on our board, so it would be good for him to come along today. And also want to acknowledge Nikki Mealings, Councillor Nikki Mealings, who is also the Waimakariri District Council representative on our trust. So yeah, thanks again for having us. I've got around about 8 slides, I think it is, so I won't make you sit through too much, but I just thought I'd just run through a few things for you. You'll also see that you've got our annual report for those of you who had one already, so you'll have the opportunity to have a read of that. So, I just thought I'd start by, as I always like to, just to show our alignment with the council in terms of your long-term plan alignment and that people's needs for mental and physical health and wellbeing, health and social services are met. So we do that by providing free social services and community services that support the wellbeing of North Canterbury, and we try to meet people's mental health and wellbeing needs. In terms of our sort of our why, I suppose, our who, why and what, we serve whānau by empowering them to thrive. We work together for an equitable community, and our purpose is that we're a values-led organisation that puts those who we serve to the forefront. We are on a journey to be Te Tiriti honouring and heart, mind and action. So in terms of, so that's our kind of driver, if you like, and in terms of what we do, we provide free community and social services that support North Canterbury. So we've got a list there of all of our free North Canterbury-wide services, sort of to categorise them, I guess. We provide family social work, we promote wellbeing and positive mental health for tamariki in primary schools, that's our Manaaki program. Manaaki Kaumahi on the road in schools across the district every day working with children, families and teachers. We provide wellbeing support for rangatahi, including counselling and specialist alcohol and drug support. We have a wellbeing coordinator who works in secondary schools with rangatahi and their families, supporting them on a range of mental health and wellbeing issues, including eating, self-harm, anxiety, gaming, grief and loss. The coordinator also runs a parent drop-in service for parents and caregivers of secondary school children, and parents can get free advice and support on these issues, along with navigating mental health services and how to access support. So we have drop-ins that can be online or in person, so we do have people taking advantage of those. We offer parenting support, I'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. We provide early childhood education through our Karanga Mai service. We have a food bank and volunteers through Kaipui community support. We have a restorative justice service, which actually originated here at Waimakariri District Council 100 years ago. It would have probably been in the 90s. Oh, when I was here, yes.
Sorry.
No, it was actually. And we also have the Trust Next Steps facilitator, who support people in whānau to gain access to a range of services, including mental health, social services and employment. The Next Steps Facilitator is actually COVID funding. So the Ministry of Social Development gave us that funding through to 2025 to help people who are affected by COVID as well. We also have Awaki Tara, which you might be interested in. The Trust is part of this network, and we support people who have been impacted or bereaved by suicide. So Awaki Tara is the name of the service. It is a free service. And finally, we have our rangatahi mentor, and this person works alongside young people who are transitioning from oranga tamariki care to independence. So they're like the mum and dad for those young people. So in terms of our background, for those who don't already know, we are really proud to be uniquely North Canterbury. We work across the Huronui and waimakariri. We're over 30 years old now. We must be approaching middle age, but we're about 36, I think, 36 years of age. And our operational bases are at 200 King Street, just up the road where the police station was for a while. We're at 24 Silver Street, so we really value having that facility that is council owned to be based there. And also Karanamai is based in Robert Creek Road, just linked up with Kaipuru High School there. Thought you might be interested to have a little look to see where our funding comes from. You will see that the majority of our funding comes from contracts, so we have multiple contracts with multiple funders. We have a good chunk of grants, so we have to work quite hard, as all good social services do and charitable organisations, to get grants in. We get some really valued support from Hammer Springs Thermal Pools and Spa. Huronui District Council make a contribution as well, which we really value. And a little bit of income from room hire, not so much now, but we have miscellaneous income, donations, people helping us, sponsorship, and of course there's Waimakariri District Council, so I just do want to reiterate how much we value the support that you give us so that we can provide those free social services. So this is really about feedback. We've worked pretty hard to keep ourselves accountable to our supporters in the community, and we evaluate the impact of our programs. We've done this for quite a few years. We invite all of our clients to rate their satisfaction with our service. Our client survey now tracks a total of 13 of our free services, and 97% of respondents, that's 151 out of 156, in 2023 ticked satisfied or very satisfied with our services, so this is an increase from 94% last year. So we try and stay up in that 90s quartile in terms of satisfaction. And behind those statistics, of course, are real people whose lives have changed for the better, and we do have some incredible stories of hope, which we like to share with the board. Actually, every month we always start with a story of hope to share. And we do get some great feedback, which I'm really proud of. With the cost of living crisis, as you will know, this year, 2023 was a challenging year, and our community continues to feel the aftermath of the pandemic. Whānau are increasingly needing help as the cost of living and inflation remains high, but we're hanging in there and we're responding with community and social services when the help is needed, and that help's made possible by the incredible generosity of supporters like you. So thank you again. So just taking a little deeper dive into one of our services, this is our food bank. So you'll see the comparisons there in terms of escalating need and response. So demand for our food parcels have increased over the past 3 years, taking May as our benchmark from 37 parcels to 177 parcels. I had a little look this morning to see, where did I write it down? So July to January, we have given out 1,155 food parcels. 250 went out in the December Christmas giving program. So we're not slowing down at all. So the cost of living increases means our funds to buy food aren't going as far as they used to. From the July to current year, we've spent 45,000. Oh, wait a minute! In the last year, $45,000 on Kai for our community. We don't get funding for our food bank, and costs have escalated. So food banks around the country, you might have seen in the media, some are closing and they're struggling. But because despite of that sort of slightly bleak landscape, we've made good on our promise, and we never send anyone away from our food bank empty-handed. That's something that we really stand by. And we're meeting the unprecedented need for food parcels just thanks to the help of our volunteers, donors and supporters. So we just keep on working away at ending hunger in North Canterbury, one whānau at a time. The food bank there is based in Kaipoi at Kaipoi Community Support, and we work primarily with Kaipoi people. Although anyone who needs a food parcel who's associated with any of our services can receive that as well. So with our parenting programs, we have tuning into teens, tuning into kids, grandparents raising grandchildren, and parent dropping, which I've already talked about. And we're really proud to be partnering with Mainpower, who are helping us with some funding to be able to provide these. So we are really grateful for that. So Mainpower's sponsorship is funding a range of free evidence-based courses and resources for North Canterbury parents. So these are some of the quotes from parents who attended courses last year. We've had some great breakthroughs with kids' behaviour and how we relate to them emotionally. Changing habits is tough, but understanding why, how and what brings it to the forefront of my mind. Recognising this has been life-changing. It's been nice to talk to other parents going through the same thing. So Mainpower sponsorship also supports our Grandparents Raising Grandchildren support group and our parent drop-in services, where parents can get free advice and support if they're worried about their kids. So just to change it up a little bit, this is the Ashley River Ramble, so an example of community support that helps us to keep ourselves operating. The Rainbow Alliance Club donated an amazing $2,000 from the proceeds of the Ashley River Ramble to community wellbeing, all in support of whānau, tamariki and rangatahi. The Ramble was a great whānau day that promotes a positive wellbeing message, and these are all members of our team who took part as well. So we like to get out and walk the talk. I must have been away getting coffee when that photo was taken. So I'll just talk a little bit about the Christmas Giving program. Thanks to the generosity of our community and our Christmas Giving partners, the Trust gave out more than 1,400 Christmas presents to North Canterbury families in need. So the people who help with that, we have drop-off points and lots of helpers, is Blackwell's Department Store, your own Waimakariri District Council Kaipoi Library helped out, New World Kaipoi, Rangiora Toyota and Ray White North Canterbury offices. So schools and other businesses and community groups supported the program with gifts and donations as well. We've done it slightly differently last year, where we used to sort of gather up Christmas presents for the whānau, but now we lay it all out, and so whānau can come in and they can choose gifts for their kids and take away wrapping paper and wrap everything up, and it's a lot more, it just works better and it's a lot more authentic. So just about there. Just wanting to acknowledge our major sponsors, who's Hanna Springs Thermal Pools and Spa, and they've stuck by us when the going gets tough, even through COVID times, supporting our community. And this year we've had a really special collaboration with Hanna Springs Thermal Pools and Spa and Compass FM. So that's one of our young parents there who they have a day out once a year, go up to the pools. So that's one of our mums, beautiful little tamariki there. So we did a winter wellbeing initiative last winter. So the polls sponsored the series, which is all about giving people everyday tips for boosting their wellbeing. We had interviews and wellbeing tips featured on Compass FM over 3 weeks of winter, and each week listeners had 3 chances to win a polls mini group pass, a wonderful way to support your wellbeing through winter. Last year we were really proud to win in 2023 the Volunteer Recognition Award. So these are some of our amazing volunteers here who work so hard. In fact, if we didn't have them working at the food bank, I just don't know how we would actually operate that space down there. So they're very special people. Just coming to the end of this presentation now, this is Karanga Mai. An initiative that we have running very soon is called Kai is Life. So this is a photo from Karanga Mai Early Learning Centre. The Kai is Life program is teaching tamariki about where food comes from. Tamariki are actively involved in planting, harvesting, preparing and eating fruit and vegetables grown right at our centre. We feed tamariki nourishing kai every day for free. They get hot meals. And every week we have a community kai day where parents and extended whānau can connect over kai with their tamariki. And we're going to be running a fundraising appeal for Kai is Life at the end of April. So if you can keep a lookout for that and help to promote that would be great. Oops. So I just would like to finish by thanking you sincerely again for all of your support and partnering with us. We really value every way that you support us, not only with funding but also with the support of the community team through Tessa and her team, and lots of other people who help us behind the scenes with all kinds of things. So that's the end of my presentation, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Deirdre. Have you got any questions from members? Councillor Redmond.
Thanks for coming along, Deirdre. The 3% I noticed that the council contribute, presumably by way of a grant.
Yes.
Does that include the use of council facilities at all?
No, it doesn't. My understanding is that it's for, not so much for facilities, so we do pay rent on the private community support offices there.
Thank you.
Any further? Councillor Cairns.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Deirdre, for your presentation. In terms of the Karanga Mai, you talked about sort of the tamariki getting food or fruit and that sort of stuff. Are you actually growing fruit on site?
There are some fruit trees there, but I think they go foraging as well. They do go to the food forest and around. But there's apple trees there, apple trees and pear trees, and some little garden spaces.
Would you feel that it would be an advantage to the tamariki and that centre to actually have a small food forest nearby?
Absolutely.
You offering?
So yes.
I've spoken with Jason, the principal of CS, the one out front.
Oh, really?
So I'll send you an image.
Oh, that would be fantastic. I think that would be fantastic. Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Mr. Mayor.
Just with your indulgence, Mr. Chair, just to thank Deirdre and the team for what they do. I went round all the food banks just prior to Christmas to say thank you for the efforts, and I was really impressed when I went in there and saw families coming to select the gifts. So I thought it was a really empowering thing to do. I just saw that I know the difference Gabby and the team make there and how caring they are. And she was showing me all through so passionate about what they're doing. I know we have lots of other food banks, not lots, but a number of others, but I just think they're coordinated by it's done there. We can be justifiably proud of them to say, pass on our thanks to you, Brian. Here as Deputy Chair of the Board, but to extend our thanks to the Board. They're all volunteers as well and doing an amazing job. Deirdre, one of the best things I ever did was employ you. And when I was involved with the Trust, I knew that you'd take it where it needed to go. And so they're so lucky to still have you in that role and to continue to make the difference that you all do for our community. Thank you.
You're very kind. Thank you.
Again, just thank you very much for all that you do, and thanks for coming along and bringing us up to speed.
You're welcome.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Deirdre.
So we go through the reports, now 5.1. All right.
Take it that library's report is largely read. I'm anticipating discussion regarding 4.5. Just ahead of that, I'd like to share just a quick mention of 4.1, the new initiative, the new program and outreach, Our Stories Make History. So this is a partnership between the Recollect platform and local history librarian with our Learning Connections Learning and Heritage team. It was an idea in response to the rapidly evolving New Zealand histories curriculum. And at that time, that team lost its team leader, Jenny Kirkwood, and we had a new team leader, Helena Good, come on board. They percolated this fantastic idea, which was promoted to schools, and within a couple of weeks was literally booked out for the term. So you'll see the fabulous photo of Rangiora Virus School in 1948, schools engaging with the content of Recollect, but also producing ways in which the tamariki can contribute content to Recollect, as well as engaging with our physical spaces through a QR code trail both in and out of the library that engages with the unique local histories of each library, and then an opportunity for the libraries team to promote our in-house and sort of consortium partner services. So a really great way that we're, as a district, responding to the local histories curriculum, but making tamariki not just consumers but curators and contributors of their content and getting their head in that space and what they can do to add to their stories. 4.2 is just a really quick highlight building on the conversation that was started some of the questions that were asked of me last time. I was having Kieran Finlay, our new digital discovery team leader, here, but he has been sick for a few days, first day back, I didn't think it was fair. So 3D printer is officially alive. It is known as the Ultimaker S3 and lovingly known as Ulti-1 Kenobi within the Rangiora workroom. Now I asked the team to just give me something to bring along and challenge them. This looks like a piece of plastic that will go in a landfill. How am I going to advocate to councillors? This is an opportunity for young people to prototype design development, conceptualise ideas, understand structural and visual qualities of a piece they're wanting to design, prototype for success to end-use production, and we're anticipating this sort of design in the hands of young people who will be next generation developers, as well as an opportunity to create and opportunities for repair and reuse of things that might be broken, and as part of our repair lab. So it's just a wonderful opportunity to, now it's live and working. Our advertising went live today for the Code Club as part of, as mentioned in 4.2.4, and we're holding spaces for 12 tamariki age 8 and up to work with the program across New Zealand with Code Club. 4.5 is the Rangiora shelving replacement. As mentioned in previous reports, the Rangiora library shelving is over 30 years old and flexible and no longer compliant with health and safety or seismic standards. It's unable to be moved easily or adjusted for the daily rhythms of our modern public library services. Visitors to Rangiora Library currently have very little choice in the space that they may use, and they visit for a variety of different reasons. Weekend staff in particular, but frequently during weekdays we are seeing almost daily and definitely weekly occurrences of dealing with distressed visitors with increased social needs and psychosocial needs in particular. These are exacerbated by the proximity which they are required to operate within Rangiora Library, and it is creating risk. In 2020, I was able to present to you a shelving replacement plan with estimated prices in 2020, and with a significant portion of the anticipated shelving costs coming from the New Zealand Library Partnership Program. Over the next few years, next couple of years, with the restrictions with time particularly, and supply time chains and unreasonable freight costs, the shelving was put on hold. We are now in a position, time and staffing wise, to seriously look at addressing the need to replace this shelving. I have been given linear metre rates and confidence from several libraries around New Zealand who have just done new library shelving plans and anticipated shelving plans. Chris Brown and I have worked through the costs, and we anticipate with a $20,000 contingency that we will be able to replace this shelving and bring in a library, shelving being shelving, hardware and fittings, for approximately the $232,000 mentioned here. We are requesting or recommending a reallocation of money from the library resources budget, which has been reported to council in previous meetings. Resources made available due to supply chain problems during COVID and funds being uncommitted. Considerable thought has been given to the removal of the physical collections around the library to comply with health and safety, and how we would dismantle, remove that shelving and install the new shelving. Library staff would take this time that the library would need to be closed to remediate the holes in the walls from the radiator removal several years ago, cosmetic paint repairs and a deep clean of the building and carpet. Staff are quite enthused with a variety of pop-up activities to ensure that business as usual could take place outside of the envelope of the building for up to 2 weeks. And with such an amazing volunteer community across our district and already within our libraries, we will be engaging with those people to also contribute to this money. I will take questions around anything in the report. Thank you.
Members, any questions? Councillor Cairns? Councillor Williams?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Paula, for your report. In terms of the first one with regard to the old shelving, what's going to happen with that?
Sorry, the old shelving.
The old shelving, what's going to happen with that?
I have been approached by a district with a funding not able to replace their shelving for significantly more than 30 years, and they would like some of it. The rest I've engaged with a scrap metal person for a tonne rate to take this, and that would be a local person. We do have, there are options to offer to schools, but many schools will have shelving better than what is in regular library.
And in terms of the, with regard to your distressed visitors, is this an isolated situation in just Rangiora Library, or is it actually across the board? And what are you doing in terms of ensuring that your staff are safe? What sort of processes have you got in place and training and that sort of for that?
Sure, so to cover your first point, libraries across New Zealand, as in many frontline social situations, social services we're in line with that. Rangiora would be seeing across a 7-day period more. The inability to offer separate spaces from areas like preschool story time, Lego club, those sorts of activities for just that background noise can activate issues that we don't have, say for example in Kaipoi, because we're able to spread those out. Your point around what are we offering staff, so we've been looking at it from a demographic point of view, making sure it's specific to different age groups and focusing largely on rangatahi over the last few months, although we've been doing pretty well in that space. Last week we ran a combined all-staff workshop with Oranga Tamariki, looking at de-escalation, looking at brain development and looking at fight and flight to then apply those to predetermined real scenarios that we have experienced within waimakariri libraries, but also those of us who within other libraries have experienced. And staff will workshop those scenarios in relation to the brain development, deregulation and emotional regulation. We have de-escalation training, psychological first aid training being organised by our operations team leader. Sherry and Nation met with a cohort of my library team, leaders, frontline, variety staff, looking at our risks and addressing those. We've reviewed that, we looked at 6 months ago, reviewed it again last week. And now we have operations team leaders who's working closely with health and safety on every incident that comes up because we have capacity now to do that. To then work with health and safety around opportunities that they can provide to staff. One thing we have found is that libraries as frontline are quite different to the service centre scenario, where that is largely more a transaction and we are having people with a range of needs. We're not behind a desk, we're not behind a screen. So we've been looking at body language, we've been looking at positions of handstand, sit, the need for people to go to a quiet space, but also the essential need for the team to keep themselves safe, and the triage approach in the library. So there's a lot more I could add, but it's just a lot, just to give you a sort of holistic view of how we look after ourselves, our heads, our community, and each other.
Councillor Williams.
Yes, hi, thank you. In your recommendation D, you got reallocation of 162,000 from libraries resource purchase capital projects. So what's going to miss out on the capital projects?
So that money was not spent, not committed over the COVID period because of the supply chain issues. So towards the end of last year, our collections team leader worked with his team to look at all of those items that were what we call encumbered. So there were items that had been ordered, the funds had been committed, but the funds hadn't been drawn. And everything that fitted within the criteria of no longer relevant to be getting them delivered was deleted and reordered for updated or new editions. So actually nothing's going to be missed out. What was on order that people still wanted, we have aimed to deliver, we've been aimed to provide. And what was largely deleted were things, say for example a travel guide, a Lonely Planet. Once 2020 hit, there wasn't a lot of travelling, so we had a lot of standing orders for all 3 libraries for a huge collection of travel books. So say for example, they weren't missed out. 2023 once orders were open, and we've reordered all those, but not got the 2020, 2021, 2022. So that sort of bird's eye view of the collection has taken a lot of hours, and we've used additional staffing hours to make sure that we were only getting what our community would need. And if you had indicated you wanted a title and had it on hold, we would be checking, was that the most up to date? Was it part of the series? Will we still get it? So I can fairly confidently say that the community won't be missing out. What they're getting is relevant. And we still have our suggest a book, buy a book, and we've revisited our threshold for when an item has a request on it, we've reduced the number of requests to then buy another one.
So the question was actually, what the capital project taken out. So you've had a budget sitting there, you haven't used for several years. But you've come to this council and asked for other money for other things in the meantime without spending the previous budget we don't need to use.
We haven't asked for any more money for the resources budget at all. In fact, in 2020, we took a cut, anticipating that it was going to be in
So you haven't come to the council with any money since COVID.
This was reported to council in the previous report, where there was a project for the RFID shelves, and the RFID shelves in that report, which I believe is potentially even attached to this report, said that we would be coming back in the future when we were looking to tender and looking to use the money and carry it over from now until then. So it's been fully reported to council already, and council were aware of the fact this money would be carried over.
Okay. And the other thing, in 70,000 from the allocated budget, is that clinic fittings renewals out? That budget's gone completely?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
That's 70,000.
No, it's 926.
The FF&E, no, I think
you're talking about the Reniora furniture.
So
I'm talking
Yeah.
E.
So the other $70,000 is actually was funding external, I believe, and it was put into this account because we had to put it somewhere. But the money was actually NZLPP, New Zealand Library Partnership funding, which was identified for this purpose. So that money, there's lots of money in that account, which is for different purposes. This is just money which is identified to be spent on that capital.
So if that budget there is for fittings and renewals, why don't you take the whole lot from that budget?
Well, it's a little bit 6 and a half, it isn't the other, because they're both capital budgets and they've both got money in them. And
Where I was coming from, just because you've got a budget of 162,000 in a capital project doesn't mean you have to use it. You should use the existing budget that's probably made for that to come out of first, I would have thought.
yeah, both of them are existing budgets.
I realise that you don't have, maybe we'd have to turn it offline on that, because I just can't see why you're using a budget from something else when you've got an existing adequate budget to do it without.
Yeah. I think the impact would be the same either way.
And the other question is, you're saying you're gifting some of this old shelving to another library somewhere else.
We haven't committed,
How would they be allowed to use it?
I haven't gone into that.
That's a good question. We've just been approached and we thought it was the right thing to do to put it into the report, but that would be their issue, I guess. There are other options. We could look at selling it on Trade Me. We could look at doing lots of things to try and get as much money as possible. They're actually really good for your garage or your shed to screw into the wall. Well, there's one sale. Right, here we go. So you might be able to make a little bit more money, but we haven't really given a huge amount of thought to that. We don't know, but we will, and we'll try and get the best value we can.
Councillor Murphy.
I mean,
Councillor Murphy.
Thanks, Paula. The fixing the holes in the wall from the radiators and the tiles, does that come out of either of those budgets in D&E, or is that a separate budget again?
That's a renewal library maintenance budget. So we've already had the holes filled. The service is just not adequate for this, the soundboarding to be attached, and it will require more sanding and dust. So we're better to do that when the library's closed, the books aren't on the shelf, because we need to be covering them. And then with the carpet tile, when shelving's installed, we would create some colour pathways as an accent to remove the ones that are quite dirty.
And have you got a costing for that?
We had the provider come out last week. He bought half of it, I think it was last room, and the other half is pending. But we've had a spare meter rate, and it's given a very small amount of carpet tiles, it's well within what our operational budget would be.
Thank you.
Mr Mayor.
I'm prepared to move the 5.1 as recommended.
Seconded. Councillor Blackie.
Can I just say, firstly, thank you, Paula, for, as always, a very thorough report. And I'd like to acknowledge the staff for identifying where those savings might come from in order to achieve the shelving. There has been a priority for the library for some time, I know that, and we have delayed that as long as we could, and the delay is thankfully going to be no longer. I really want to see the shelving improve. There's great big gaps in the library spaces where they are now. I've had a chance to see the new digital system work, and I think it works really well. And we know that how highly used our library is, so thank you for the creative way in which it's been brought here. I think Councillor Williams has indicated perhaps different ways the budget could be considered in the future. We'll welcome hear suggestions at budget time and how we may reallocate funds. We'll listen to that with interest. But here, finding those savings in order to achieve this, thank you for that. We want to acknowledge the work of your team that I am constantly impressed with. I get nothing but positive comments about the libraries and the role that they play in our communities and right across our district, so thank you. Just Also, I'm aware that this may well be your last meeting presenting to us, so just on behalf of the council and our community, can I acknowledge the huge contribution you've made in the years of your service here, recognising also that there's been a lot of change through that time and leading us through that period of COVID. Wherever your journey takes you, and I'm not clear whether it is at this point, all the best. And we appreciate your leadership and the role that you've performed over your years of service, so thank you.
Thank you so much.
Councillor Blakey.
Just to endorse the Mayor's comments on your service, Paula, thank you. Nothing further to add.
Other councillors? Quick one from me, read the shelving. I was lucky to get some of the redundant shelving from the old police station, and it's jolly good. And honestly, you'll make a buck. So, which I'm sure would please Councillor Williams no end. So, but also all the best for wherever you're heading. Thank you very much for your participation over these years. All right, I'll put it. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? It's carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Paul.
So we go on to 5.2. Tessa.
Thank you. This report is an opportunity to provide an update on a number of projects that eventuated out of the recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. Many of these projects have now been absorbed into business as usual, but I really wanted to highlight the innovative and creative nature of the community-based planning that happened after COVID-19, and in particular it details the food security project and the progress that has been made on that. Initially, food security was about making sure that our food banks were really well resourced, and significant funding was required to make sure that, particularly over the COVID period, as demand increased, that the food banks would be adequately stocked. Increasingly, the focus is on generating an empowerment focus, so the creation of more community gardens, more community pantries, cooking programs. Food rescue has really taken off. Obviously, food forests have taken off also. So we got excited to see the direction that food security is taking, and they have recently reviewed their strategy for the coming years. Just today there was a food security forum held in Woodend, and that's centred on making sure that food could be repurposed, making sure that people were well educated as to how they could get the most out of the food resources that they have. The Next Steps website, support and information website, has been highlighted there, and you'll see there are some infographics around the audience for the Next Steps website. Staff alongside social services, waimakariri, are working really hard to make sure that across the district it's being used, and you'll see I think it's 7,100 hits on the site. Is the current figure. We are trying to make sure that if someone rings up us for a query, we're referring them back, because we want to socialise right across the community. And you will have noted in Deirdre's report that to keep the brand going, that the support navigators for the district are the Next Steps facilitators. The community hub that you'll see outside is linked to the Next Steps program as well. So we create that awareness where people are able to help themselves get access to the information they need. Another particular benefit of the Next Steps website is that it gets service providers thinking more broadly than their lane. So what else can we do to help people? they're increasing the knowledge of what's happening in the community. So we're quite delighted with how that's going. I provided an overview of the Kaipoi Community Hub, and you'll be aware that we have had 3 leases signed, and the lease for the men's shed is pending. We're just working through some odds and ends with them, and really excited about getting some providers on site and ready to operate. And I know that Green Space will give you more of an update around the infrastructure, a lot of which is now complete. I've attached to this report a copy of the strategy, just so that you can see the visuals. I think last time I presented, you had the draft document in front of you. The feedback that I get from the sector is that they're really exciting. They're just about chomping at the bit and having a lot of this stuff delivered as we speak, but we're looking at a launch in May, a formal launch in May for that strategy, and that will coincide quite nicely with the recruitment of the facilitator you'll be aware of. Mayor's Task Force for Jobs, I'd also like to highlight the success of that program. When we were given a 6-month pilot with 3 months to deliver it, and it's fair to say that our facilitator ended the last financial year feeling a wee bit despondent, but we were delighted to have been given a 2-year contract, and already we're only 1 placement away from the 3-month sustainable employment target that we were given, with 13 and 3 months employment, but over and above that there are another 14 young people who have been placed in various types of employment. So technically we've just about doubled our contracted hours. What I'd like to really highlight though is the level of training. 69 young people have been supported into some degree of training, whether that be driver licence, forklift, various other driver licensing, self-lane tracks, I've got that right, site safe, customer service, and various other things that are supporting them to make sure that they're highly employable. We're also undertaking CV writing workshops and ready to work workshops. So aside from that, I'm going to take my report as read and happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Who's got questions, please? Councillor Keir.
Just a brief question. I noticed that the food security category is seen as an exemplar from MSD. Are they looking to continue funding that organisation? And the second question, in terms of the Minerals Task Force for Jobs, do you actually have any feedback from the participants that have got their jobs? And have you got feedback from them that you can present back to us at some stage as to how wonderful the Task Force for Jobs has been for them?
Absolutely. In terms of the MSD funding, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what funds are, and I'll have to get back to you on that because I'm not sure where that is currently. I know that there certainly won't be the 700 and something thousand that we got at the start of the project, but that's getting us a community hub as well. In terms of, I've forgotten your second question, the Mayor's Task Force for Jobs. The animated conversations that I have, that I overhear between Elizabeth and the young people would indicate that they're very delighted and very happy. We've had good feedback from employers as well.
That's good. All right, thank you.
So I know there was a question over the side. Councillor Williams.
I've heard through social media there's a lot of really, really good things with your piano that's out there, that young ones are playing all that.
Green Space did that wonderful.
So that's what you're
That's not us, no.
I'll make that Green Space thing. Thank you.
We're jealous, it's great.
Any other questions at all? Somebody prepared to move? Move Councillor Cairns, seconder Councillor Mellings. Councillor Cairns.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Only to say that the report is well done. Thank you very much for all the work that you do. This is only a snapshot of some of the work that your team does, and it's huge. Like I look at the likes of the Wendy Howes of this world that The Chief's done a huge amount of work for North Canterbury Neighbourhood Support and helping us to change or to review our vision and values and our strategy. And it's hugely valuable, and people should take advantage of your teams. They're just wonderful. Thank you, Tessa.
Councillor Alex.
Just want to echo those sentiments and say, my goodness, the community team is busy in some of the most impactful things that improve the lives of people in Waimakariri, and I can only just say how proud I am to be part of a council that has a team like you guys working for our community, and let me work. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
I just, to end to that and endorse those comments have already been made, but in particular, really looking forward to the mobile community hub. That would be great.
It's outside if anybody wants to
Awesome.
see it, outside our office.
Looking forward to that, but also to something that wasn't mentioned in here that I could see, but has been a big piece of the work that Tess has been doing, and in particular is the support with the Logan community, which has been extensive. It was a really positive community meeting last Tuesday, I think, Wednesday or Thursday, anyway, Thursday, I think. And Tessa, just to acknowledge, you picked up an opportunity through your networks of a fund, which will significantly help the community recover. It'll never be entirely from where it was before, because obviously there's been a lot of go with the respective fires and the growth that there is that was protecting their properties. But I sit there like you, Councillor Ian, is very proud of where our teams and the support that they give. And also we've built up a fund of about 12,000, I think, now in the meal relief, which we will decide the next week how best is to augment that. That fund, I think, came from Department of Affairs, around 20,000, I think. So, from nowhere, not only the generosity that came from our community, but also through the network and connections, and it's specifically down to your care, Tess. It doesn't matter whenever there's an event, you're there. And I know there's other members of your team, but you in particular show exemplary leadership and show a real care for our community that I know is really valued. So thank you for what you do. Is 100% appreciated, and you go above and beyond all the time, and it's something that makes a difference for our community, and that's why we're here. And I don't need much reminder of that from the work that you and your team do. It's fantastic. Thank you.
And just briefly from me, I had cherry picking out of a good report that I'm going to. With regard to the driver's licensing, we heard earlier Ecane struggling to get drivers. We heard our utilities and roading, waste management are struggling to get drivers. I myself was approached probably a year and a half ago and asked by a driving firm, how much do I get paid by the police? I replied what it was. They offered me $1 per hour more to join their firm with considerable allowances. Unfortunately, it was long haul, which doesn't suit with what we do around this table. But I was thoroughly impressed with these people coming through, getting licences. It just opens up just a plethora of opportunities. So as I say, I hate cherry picking out of a good report, but I'm going to on that particular point. So, any other questions? No, I'll put it. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carry. Thank you, Tessa. I'm informed Mr. Brown's in the next one, so we'll look at that. Go on, heaps.
Before I do that, Tessa did mention that the community hub was actually outside there. So once we finish the meeting, it's outside so that people can go out, and it'll be opened up so you can actually get a look through and see what that money can buy and how it will be awesome for the community. So unfortunately Matt's on leave at the moment. I mean, Sue was going to present, but she's not feeling particularly well, is the case also for another 13 people, I think, in the pools, which are currently off at the moment. It was a bit of a almost closed for both the library and the pools over the weekend, with staff unfortunately being unwell with COVID and other related things. It is the change of season, so that does happen unfortunately, but they managed to keep it open, which was good. So you will see in this report the numbers of attendances at the pools is still really, really strong and tracking in a good direction, which is good. We have seen a lot more talented people come through the recruitment, which is really good as well, and we are recruiting additional people to take on that extra learn to swim. The pool safe assessment was completed, and there were a couple of recommendations in there, but we passed that pool safe assessment. Matt is a pool safe assessor himself, so he travels around the country at times and assesses other people's pools, which means that we should definitely pass our pool assessment because he should know what they're looking for, so that's good. We had the summer pool wrap up, so the Oxford pool did very, very well this year. With the settled warm weather we had a lot of people through the Oxford pool, which is fantastic. And I hear that we made an additional approximately $300 of income on the doggy pool party that they have. We did suggest to people that they may not want to get into the pool with the dogs, but yet some people still chose with I think there was either 40 or 60 dogs to get in the pool with the dogs. Yep. So that's all I can really report in here. Happy to take any questions.
Questions? Councillor Fulton?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chris, it's something I broke to you some time ago at the Oxford pool. I will tell you on the fly that the assessment of the Lions Club has been that they don't go any further with the heating and covering and the feedback. But I thought it would be useful up in that community if ever this should arise again. You know, is this just a no-go? I know you did a report some 3 years ago, but
in terms of
heating, covering, expansion, any of this, it was quite a process for the Lions Club to gauge that sort of feedback.
Yeah. So it is heated.
Oh, well, no, so it's covering.
Yeah, but it's covering, which is the thing which is raised regularly. We did a pool strategy 3 years ago, and then we revised it for this long-term plan. And the strategy, looks at what the priorities are for the district. How many people are attending this pool? How many people would like to attend this pool if it was covered, and the cost of actually putting a covering on top of it. The priority for our district, when you look at the whole district at the moment, is definitely the hydrotherapy and the leisure facilities in Kaiapoi and Rangiora, as opposed to covering the pool in Oxford. The cost of doing that would be pretty high, and a lot of that is not necessarily just around the physical covering of the pool, but the additional hours that people would want it to be open for. If it was covered, we would have to staff that all year round, and that would also be a significant additional operational cost, which is directly rate funded. So all of that information was provided to Council 3 years ago as part of the long-term plan, and then as part of this long-term plan, there was an update provided to the aquatic facilities strategy to see whether or not there was any changes to community need. There were surveys done to users and those sorts of people, and it was presented as part of the long-term plan as well. So
that's great. It's available because it is a recurring question, and even in terms of need, who uses it and how long they'll use it. Thank you.
Any further questions at all? There's a recommendation there. Moved Councillor Blakey, seconded the Mayor. Councillor Blakey.
Nothing much to add, just to say thanks to Matt in his absence, and in the economic and health climate we're working in, they're doing bloody well.
Great thing, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, I keep turning this off. It feels a habit from sitting down here. Just very briefly from me. My partner came home last Friday night and said to me, because we planned Saturday in the garden, she says, I'm not going to be very popular. And I said, well, why? And she said, because I'm working again tomorrow. Because of the number of illnesses, there was a scrum booked in. She was the only qualified teacher that was available, albeit it was their day off. The practicality is, and she's not available this Saturday because we're going to do the open home thing in Christchurch. But if she's not available, some staff member has to ring those parents that have booked in for Learn to Swim and say it's now off due for whatever reason. And then you come back to the satisfaction survey of 96, up from 94 last year, and all of a sudden figures like that turn to custard because whilst we have illness in our community, you're affecting my baby from learning to swim. So it's a heck of a challenge, these pools, and hats off to those who manage to keep them running, operating, given the current climate. Enough from me. Councillor Blakey, any comment? No, I'll put it. All those in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. So, correspondence, I have none. So we'll go through to portfolio updates. Councillor Blakey.
Thank you. Green Space. A couple of Sundays ago, AgReg, which is Ashley Gorge Residents Advisory Group, held a fun day, which I attended to wave the flag, and the Mayor was there as well. It was a good day. The crowd wasn't too marvellous because it was drizzling here, so everyone assumed it would be drizzling in Oxford as well, and it wasn't. It was beautiful up there. People were swimming in the river. But so be it. River matters in Kaiapoi, in the Green Space portfolio. We've had some meetings with Brent and I, and Neville met with the Harbour Master and got some distinct progress in sorting out the kids leaping into the river in front of boats, etc., etc. The best thing that happened was some parents came down, gave a couple of kids a clip round the ear, took them away and said, any further problems, you just ring us and we'll come and sort it out, which is the best thing that's happened in 2 years of trying to sort that problem. So that was quite positive. Huri Reserve, our stage 3, the contract has come in and under budget, under the engineer's estimate, and that's it has been signed off and is starting work now. That includes the entrance ways, waha, is that the right term for entrance, Maori entrance, waha, I think it's right. And the fencing and bollards and chains and some more paths, and it's all going well. Tikahaka, we are in the process of getting our new general manager on board there. We had 8 applicants, whittled down to 5, whittled down to 3 that we're interviewing next week. So hopefully we'll pick a good one out of that 3. The other incidental from Tikahaka is Deirdre reminded me with her talking about restorative justice, the young man who was involved with the big fire, which in the restorative justice I ran that program for him, and he came to Tikahaka as part of his rehabilitation, if you want to call it that. He has turned around to the point where he is now employed in a green space type operation with full employment. So that's been a success story. And that's me. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, you got a question?
Well, I just wanted to add to Councillor Blackie's report because he's very modest. But Nola Copper was a huge event that was at the Silver Stream on Sunday, and I know Alice had a huge amount to do with that, but just to acknowledge his leadership there at Silver Stream. He hadn't been in there lately, it's really worth going. It's beautiful, and the area where right behind your property, as it turns out, the amphitheatre environment. We sat there and had about 3 hours of entertainment. It was incredible, a beautiful area. Mike Quant did an amazing job. Also has an incredible voice, as does Bex, who played in the band in Channel. It was just an awesome afternoon, but I mentioned in my opening comments some remarks about Councillor Blakey, at which point there was huge applause in the area. They really did acknowledge the effort and passion that you put in. I realise there's other volunteers volunteers, but first you go down there and volunteer and give up your time, and the community did acknowledge that. So thanks to what you do, it was a really positive event, and I hope it's something we do again.
Mr. Brown, you wanted to?
Mine was a bit tongue in cheek. A gate is a waharoa, ROA at the end just for the record, but a waha is actually someone with nothing meaningful or truthful to say.
That's
With all that clarification for the minutes would be quite
That teach me to try and be clever.
Councillor Williams?
Yeah, just what I was going on about before, it's really positive to see on the community feedback about the piano out there. It goes out, but it's broken, apparently. So they have got some more others stored in the Saltwater Creek hall. So do you know if they're going to get replaced or anything? Because the community.
We'll work on it. Great.
Hello. Yeah, we do have some other pianos in there. We tend to bring it in during the winter period anyway, because obviously the weather, the frosts, and the dew that we start to get aren't too good for the piano. We kind of realised that putting it out there on the main road, it was going to have a shorter lifespan, so we're definitely going to have a look at what we might need to do with it once it's back in the shed. We also just wanted to talk to the shop owners as well about the usage that it was getting, because obviously we can't monitor it now because it's not outside and we're not privy to the music that's going on there. But also if we need to replace it, then that's correct. There are some others that we could potentially bring out of retirement and maybe fix up a little bit and put back on the street for next summer.
Any further questions? No. Thanks, Councillor Blakey. I think I'm next. A heck of a lot of that I could update. We all know about anyway. It's in the draft LTP, but a couple of things is planning to close down both poles for maintenance. As far as the planning is concerned, that's started and will be well advertised to the community. Tender documents are currently being prepared. Main Power Stadium, currently working on clarifying the building's role in a civil defence emergency. Also, solar panel discussions are continuing with Main Power. Current proposal looks favourable. A report will be coming back to Council with details of any agreement. With regard to the Southwark Sports Club, there was a meeting probably 3 weeks ago now. Several of us were there. It was quite a good turnout from elected representatives, emphasising the point that they need to submit to firstly the LTP and then a way forward as far as raising the extra money. There is a further meeting tonight. I'm hoping to go, although my father went to hospital last night, so it just depends on an update and the conclusion of this meeting as to whether I will get to that. But that's all from me. Any questions? No? So, community development wellbeing, Councillor Keynes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've already sent everybody an update as to what's been happening within the development and wellbeing portfolio aspects. The only thing that I would highlight would be the promotions working group, and I'd like to acknowledge staff member Mark Maxwell, who's been, and also Gina, who've been working behind the scenes. There's been a huge amount of work in terms of meeting with each of the various different promotions associations and all the other events planners throughout the district. And I'd just like to acknowledge the amount of work that team has been doing behind the scenes. So far, an email has gone out to all the promotions associations, and we're now bringing together a calendar of events so as we can, see as to where all the money is going to be going to. But all I can say is that the council will end up making the decisions, but I am confident that we will end up with a small amount of money that we actually provide for events, that we will get a far better bang for our buck moving forward. So watch this space. Thank you.
Any questions? No. Councillor Blackie.
Thank you, Ian. Arts and culture, not a lot to report. The the mural in Kaiapoi on Cure Road, Club's Wall, which Waipat are managing, is proceeding well, as you've probably seen on social media or gone down to see it. It's 3/4 finished, and their funding is almost up to the line for paying for it all. Dan's covered the thing on Sunday at Silver Stream. There was approximately 200 people there, and I have to say it was almost too hot. The bush hasn't grown up enough yet to provide any shade. We're sitting in blazing sun, and I could have, with the amps that were pumping out that noise, I could have stayed at home on my veranda in the shade and heard every note anyway, without crossing the river to be there. Art strategy, Tessa covered that off. We've got that finalised, and we're going to have a little ceremony in here in the foyer, a bit like we did with the braided mural display thing, to kick that off, and that'll be in May. You'll be getting an invite to that. I think it's May the 10th, something like that. What's the date, Tess? 8th, 9th, 10th. Doesn't matter. You'll get an invite to it anyway. And that's me.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Any questions?
9th.
All right, questions? I have no questions. No items of urgent general. I'll move that we go into public excluded for the reasons outlined. Is somebody prepared to second? Second.